What is up, people? Jean Carlos here. I'm with Natalie Flores, and we're on the Total Body Training Podcast, where I help people get lean, gain muscle, and build some confidence. And today, Natalie is here because we're going to be talking about... Hey, what's up? We're going to be talking about Natalie. She does something called adaptive yoga, and I think it's something that's really important for our population here at Total Body Training. So she's actually going to be teaching a few classes here, and yeah, Natalie, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Okay. So Natalie, tell us a little bit about adaptive yoga and what that is.
So adaptive yoga is kind of how it sounds, is it's adaptive to the person. So instead of trying to get your body and your experience, your injuries to kind of fit into a pose, it's working in the pose adjusting to fit your body. And then from that, working in a place that improves your flexibility, your mobility, and your strength in a safe way. So it's really for everyone of all ages, all genders, all body types, all injuries, and any kind of goal you're working towards, whether it is strength or it is mobility or flexibility or even mental wellness. Adaptive yoga is about addressing each individual's goals and how to build that. Yeah. Okay,
so how do you do that in a class setting? Like, I could see how that would be easy to do in a one-on-one setting, and I can kind of hypothesize because I'm a trainer and I teach group settings, but how do you apply adaptive yoga with, say, a group of like 6 people?
Right. So, you know, really it's starting from the ground up, starting at a base level. Usually I try to observe everyone and their individual, the way they move. I ask questions. And then as we move through the sequence, it's really just giving people time to stretch, and in that time going to each actual individual person and talking to them and making sure that they feel good and asking them questions. And so it really gives that one-on-one feel even though you're in a group, because I'm taking time to go to each person and ask them about themselves and adjust them. So that's why I think it's so important that once you do start this process to keep coming back and keep that consistency, because I remember when someone says that they tore something or not, and I keep that in mind as I adjust each sequence for the group when I come back.
Cool. And so how did you get into teaching adaptive yoga?
Yeah, so I got teaching adaptive yoga because I was a vinyasa instructor, and I was teaching strong flow, vinyasa flow, and I love teaching, and I still teach that style of yoga, but I could see that when someone would come in, if they were heavier and they felt like they couldn't move and they felt insecure, or if they had an injury and they would get frustrated and they would just want to leave the class. And I felt, wow, there's this whole population that I'm not serving because I either don't have the knowledge, I don't have the training, and you know, I have limited personal life experience in injuries, so I can't help address them to get deeper into their bodies and find the results that they want. So I went back to school, did more training, and learned a lot more about how to approach each one of these people and their issues and their injuries and their goals, and work with them honestly, slowly, to get them to progress. So
cool. Very cool. Yeah. So you kept finding that some people really needed that and that you weren't able to address those things that were going on in their bodies. And would you say that there's a lot of that here in town in San Antonio? You encounter that a lot?
Definitely. Yeah. There's definitely. We're like, as a city, we're just so active, but there's not, we have a trouble being a little bit consistent. So a lot of people start strong and then they'll injure themselves, or they're constantly active and they'll injure themselves, or it's the opposite end of the spectrum where we are a little overweight as a city, and so we have trouble, you know, wanting to move. So there's a lot of you know, the thing about adaptive yoga is that it addresses everyone and everything. So there's everyone and everything here in San Antonio. We have such a diverse community and a big mixture of people with different needs. So yeah,
cool, very
there's a lot of that.
Very cool. Yeah, I love how it's something that can be individualized and can help people with different things, because I know, you know, our population is pretty diverse, and a lot of people in my studio do need customized things, exercises to be fixed and modified for them, and they have gone to other places and not exactly gotten that. It's not to say anything negative about anyone else, but maybe they just don't have the skill set to do that. And so I try to offer that, and I believe that you offer that as well.
Thank you.
Now, you know, that being said, tell us about your certifications.
Right.
What you what you have.
Yes, I'm an RYT 500-hour
RYT, can you?
RYT, registered yoga instructor with Yoga Alliance, and I'm a RYT 500-hour instructor. So usually my first 200-hour training was Vinyasa, which is kind of the baseline for being able to teach like a group yoga class. And you're given kind of a basic knowledge of whatever style that your curriculum is giving you, knowledge about anatomy and yoga history, et cetera, et cetera. And then your next program, your RYT 300-hour, is a more in-depth focus. So there's many different 300-hour programs out there, and you can kind of choose what you like. And so the program I chose was adaptive yoga with Mel Marie Yoga, who's also in town.
Cool.
And I heard what she wanted to teach and what she wanted to offer, and I was just, that's exactly what I wanted. And she's still doing amazing work with now with like military and helping officers get into their bodies and address their tight bodies and injuries and things like that. And it's really awesome. So we also have been working with girls that struggle with eating disorders and people with anxiety and depression. So it's just really cool. Mind, body, spirit. We're just addressing all those things and adapting, creating, tailoring yoga to meet the person's needs.
That's pretty cool. So you said that the first one you got was 200 and the second one's 300. Is that 200 and 300 separate, or is that now you have 300 in total?
Oh, so now I have 500 in total.
That's right.
Yeah, so the 200 was one program, and then Melissa's program, the 300-hour, is separate. Yeah. So I did one a few years ago, and then Melissa's almost a year ago. Almost. Yeah. God, time flies.
yeah, man, that's a while. Yeah. So you've been doing, how long have you been doing yoga?
So I've been doing yoga on and off since I was 12 years old.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we used to have a Bikram studio here. Now it's the Union. And when I was 12 years old, my mom did the 60-day challenge, and that was my first moment stepping into yoga. And then I went to college and kind of didn't have money to do it for a while. And then I came home and was like, I need this again, definitely.
That's cool.
It's for my own mental health and wellness and physical recuperating.
So, like, all right, yoga is not exactly super popular with kids. I mean, although there's like a movement right now for youth yoga and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case back in like 2005. I don't know what year that would have been, but like in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Right? That wasn't necessarily the case during that time. How did you even get into that?
So I was one of those hyperactive kids diagnosed with ADHD, and I had like little anger management issues, believe it or not. And
really?
I was a super aggressive child, very hyperactive, and I couldn't get my emotions and my thought process under control. And even I'm not on any medication now, so if I get hyper, sometimes my thoughts will still get away from me. But when you're a kid and you just have all these emotions and these feelings that you don't understand, and you don't have a full grasp on situations, that would just make me so frustrated. So I would act out. I was just a real rascal, like a real little monster. And my dad were try to get me into karate, and things were expensive. Things were very expensive to keep going, and so we did the yoga because Groupon had just launched that year. Or I don't know, it was like just new, and so we did the Groupon with the Union with Bikram, and yeah, we did it, and I really enjoyed it. I just really took to it, and it helped me just center and get focused in a big way. And now I think about it academically, I did so much better once I introduced it into my life. And so that's I didn't think about that until now, actually.
And so you feel that what did it do for you? So that my people here are clear. What did that do for you as someone who was a little bit scatterbrained, a little bit hyperactive? What did that do for you? Why do you say that it helped you in school? I know. But,
So doing yoga as a kid, and even to this day, it helped me to get into my body and really just focus on sensation first, and then identify what I was feeling so that I can empower myself to act into whatever action I took. So if I was angry, instead of just acting out, it's like I sat in that sensation of anger, and I said, okay, I'm angry. And then I was able to to say, well, I'm angry, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something else. It gave me that pause.
Yes.
And so if you were to take that out of mind and into body, because later I became a big time runner, it would be, I'm running and I'm in this sensation of running, and suddenly I feel pain. Well, okay, now my sensation is pain. And so I identify that I'm in pain and maybe I'm feeling panic and anxiety. So instead of pushing myself, maybe my action isn't to just keep going and ignore it. Maybe it's to explore that pain and say, maybe I do need to stop or something. So that's where it kind of, it's a valuable tool, because you learn so much more mind-body awareness. And that's really, I think, the biggest thing that changes your life. So, you know.
Yeah, I would say that is some really powerful stuff, because I didn't encounter that. Well, this isn't about me. We'll talk about this some other time. But no, I totally get what you're saying there. Yeah, it's something, and a lot of it has to do with because of what they're telling you as you're going through the classes, like the intense amount of focus that you have when you're having to hold a pose for extended periods of time, especially like when you're doing Bikram or heated yoga.
There's a lot of panic. There's a even now, if you put me in a heated classroom, I'm like, oh, we have to stay here for how long?
Yeah,
and
60 to 90 minutes.
Yeah, there's kind of a panic. And you sit in that emotion and gain mastery over your urges, your quick response. I'm like, I don't know if that's the right word.
No, your fight or flight is that kind of thing. Yeah. Versus like if you're doing it alone, you might just stop. It's like almost like you're forced to do it. And that repeated action of like showing up day after day and doing that and putting yourself through that teaches you how to maybe quiet the part of you that's just noise and separate that from when your body's actually telling you, hey, something's wrong, or hey, how do you feel? Don't just instantly scream at someone when you're mad. Slow down, like think about why you're mad. Do you even deserve to be mad? Like that whole process.
Exactly.
Is that even the most productive thing to do?
And I'll take it one step further and say that adaptive yoga is observing and sitting in the emotion, but also deciding what's right for you and your body, and you're like having the moment to step back and say, well, maybe I should stretch a little deeper, or maybe this is the point where I back off, so it's not feeling forced to stay in it and in something, but being wise about where and when do you go forward, when do you go back. It's exercising that discrimination, that discernment on your body.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because I think like a lot of people, especially people who do have like an injury or maybe are new to it, it can be very intimidating to come into a class and see women doing men and women doing like handstands and doing forearm stands. And a lot of times like that's what you see when you turn on Instagram. You see people doing really cool things, and that's very scary for someone. They instantly think that they have to do that.
Yes,
they're gonna fall into that,
and they think like, oh, yoga is not for me. Yoga is for this one body type and this one person that has, I don't know, this much money, and I can't afford it. I'm not that person. So, so it's like really hard to invest in something that you feel like you're not a part of, or you don't think maybe it's not worth it to take a chance on. So
now, I want to talk about something, and we didn't even talk about this before we sat down, but this specific part. But this is something that's important to me, because I've had people, in my population, when I tell them that I'm going to do yoga or that I do yoga, they attach it to a religious value, and I know that there are tendencies, and you can use that, in that context. But can you explain to people a little bit about how that doesn't have to be for, used in a religious way, or that you can be of any faith construct or any value and still do yoga? For sure. We definitely have to give props to the lineage of yoga. It was 5,000 years old, and it did start off in India, and it was at the time very linked to the religion, and it was really big. It is still a big part of Hinduism, and a lot of the poses derive from the spiritual texts, and a lot of the poses are inspired by the Hindu gods, like Splits is Hanuman. Hanuman is a god, and so we have to give it that respect, the culture, that knowledge. But yoga is also an internal thing. It is an internal philosophy and system for getting to your highest self and your highest state of being. And so that is kind of high level psychology and philosophy and spirituality, but that doesn't have to be tied to religion, because if you are so really
what really is interesting to me, and this might be a tangent, but
no, please.
So the word for demon in Sanskrit, where like it kind of translates to more separation, which I think is really interesting because it's not so much something else that's coming to like wreck your life. It's your own self creating distance from your body, from your mind, from your breath, from each other, from humanity, from the world. So in like going way back, you know, if you are separated from your body to the point where you're not listening to it and you're injuring it, and it's really hard to think about, oh, am I going to hit like nirvana or enlightenment? We have to start somewhere. And that process for each human, it's their own path. It's totally individual. So what that means for you is, or at least what I found, especially doing yoga and then in adaptive yoga, is the best place to begin is in the body and in the breath and in the mind. And since yoga is a body, breath, mindful practice, it sort of addresses that and gets you started. And maybe that's where you go and that's where you stay. You achieve awesome awareness and you protect your body and you grow, and that's awesome. There is no pressure to become a guru or
I think that's what some people think. I think
sure.
Some people think that that's what you're going to do when you go into a yoga
exactly.
class. Yeah.
And so a lot of it is like what you take it. I mean, I've worked with veterans who are like, what is this? Am I praying to the sun god doing sun salutations? I'm like, well, are you? Like, you know, you don't have to. You could just be moving and stretching. I mean, think of it like, you know, you're putting your leg back and you're stretching. Breathe. Well, just, you know, can you just sit in that sensation? So, so we have to give it yes, we have to give it the honor that in traditional and in cultural spheres, it is still very much a religious practice. But here in the West, we really, when the gurus came from India to bring yoga, like Yogananda and everything, they addressed it first with the mind body, and then kind of, they even use, like, if Christianity is your thing and that's something that you feel so good stretching and not like you want to meditate in a prayer, there's really no wrong answer, really. So it's kind of liberating because it's what brings you to your highest self.
Yeah, I like that you said that it can be used in whatever spiritual practice. That's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah.
If you do have a spiritual practice, it can be used for that. You know, I have friends that are Muslim that do that do yoga. I have friends that are Christian. It's, you know, people who are that have no faith. I'm one of those people. I don't go into it with wanting to connect with that. You know, and nor do I feel that kind of pressure in the kinds of yoga classes that I've taken.
Yeah, because yoga within itself is a little bit like Buddhism. It's a philosophy for getting connected to your highest self. And if your highest self is joining yourself with God and feeling that connection, well, then that's what it is for you. If it is just ultimate awareness and peace and compassion for all living beings, then that's what it's going to be. So
awesome. Very cool.
So awesome question.
Yeah, I just had to ask. I had to ask because I've literally had people freak out. One time I just told someone, and I know this also, it's a long story, but because of my religious background, that sometimes some people can feel uncomfortable, and I'm always like, well, that's sad, you know, because it's such a cool thing to do with your body. Like, it's not, you don't have to see it that way.
It can be limiting. It can be one of those things that separate ourselves from connecting and from getting really close to each other. And so I think it's just a lens. Like, if you shift it from not so much what it is for someone else, what it could be for you and what it could do for you and your development, and really it just I mean, it's changed my life. So I love it. And however you approach it, I say just give it a shot. And just remember it's personal. So yeah.
Cool. So, Natalie, I think we're getting close to finishing this up, but is there anything you'd like to say to anybody who's looking to do adaptive yoga, who's going to be doing adaptive yoga with us? Anything you'd like to say about that?
Anything? For those of us who are joining us in adaptive yoga, to just really come out and do the adaptive.
Just be here.
Just be here.
Please be our friend.
be part of our community. Do the yoga. Be interested and come with this with curiosity. Curiosity for your body. Curiosity for new information and new techniques for you know, your mind, your body, your spirit. Be open to breathing and seeing how the breath can really change you. Yeah, I think that's it. Curiosity, open mind, courage, right?
Yeah, awesome. All right. So, Natalie, where can people find you online?
I am on Facebook at Natalie Danielle Yoga, and that's also my Instagram handle. Yeah, that's what it is, a handle. I was like, wait, what is that? And so I'm on there. Yeah, you can find me.
Username, handle. Yeah, it's handle. It's handle.
I know, it's like all the different social media kind of gets a little
confusing.
Username.
Yeah, I know. My AOL. My AIM.
Oh my gosh,
instant messenger name. All right, people, you can find me at Giancarlos TBT. Is it Giancarlos Gonzalez TBT? Yeah, that's my handle on Instagram. Yeah, and you can also find us on the Total Body Training website, totalbodytraining.com's Facebook, and you can also find us on, I'm getting mixed up, on the Total Body Training Facebook, and you can find me, we have a podcast. We have so many things going on right now. I lose track of how much we have going on.
And what they're named.
Yeah, I know. If you just look up Total Body Training, we have a massive amount of content. So please look us up. Until next time, peace. Bye.
Of course I come off a little dwarfy, like this poor human half elf is like confronted with these like dangerous obstacles.